We're going to be talking about characterization in the story we've been reading, Cub Pilot. But before we do, I want to just make a quick note on a few things I think may have confused you or may confuse you in the future. And that is these terms, dialogue, dialect, and jargon. It's easy to get these terms confused, and I want to make sure you understand exactly what they mean. Dialogue is the conversation people have with each other. And in stories, you use a lot of dialogue. She said this, he said that. Dialect is a variety of language. People that live in a certain part of the country have a certain dialect. They pronounce words differently than they do in a different part of the country. And jargon. Jargon, remember, is the terminology of a specific group or occupation. Words like hard drive and online or computer terms, words like sacking and quarterback, those are sports terms. So terms that belong to a specific group or an occupation, those terms are called jargon. Let's look at an example. Here's an example of dialogue. This is from the Cub Pilot. I had to go all the way to the pantry. Just normal conversation, right? Dialect. Darned likely story. Fill up the stove. Now we see some words that aren't normal usage, but they're a dialect characteristic of the person that's speaking. And jargon. I couldn't find the Texas tender, remember? Specific to steamboats, Texas tender. All right, I just want to make sure that you understand the difference between these three terms. Now on to character and characterization. Mark Twain is a master at characterization and at revealing character, and I wanted to really let you feel that before we go on. How does he do it? He uses description, dialogue, and dialect. Now you see why I didn't want you to be confused about those. Let's listen to how he describes himself. Of course, this is his autobiography, so he's speaking about himself, first person. I first wanted to be a cabin boy so that I could come out with a white apron on and shake a tablecloth over the side where all my old comrades could see me. What do you learn about him from this? Is he a shy boy? Is he kind of self-conscious? Does he like to be noticed? He didn't say that. He just described this, and we understand now a little bit about what he's like. In section 59, but I was not afraid of him now, so instead of going, I tarried and criticized his grammar. This is about Brown now, his pilot that he's the cub for. And when he becomes unafraid of him, now all at once he's turning on him and he wants to correct his grammar. What does that tell you about Mark Twain? Was he a person that spoke well, that used good English? Did he have some learning and understanding? That reveals a lot about him, doesn't it? Continuing, so I reformed his ferocious speeches for him and put them into good English, calling his attention to the advantage of pure English over the bastard dialect of the Pennsylvania colliers from whence he was extracted. Just this, the words that he uses tell us that he's a very educated person. He has a real command of the English language, doesn't he? And of course, as he describes it, once he became not afraid of this pilot that he was the cub for, he turned to the things that he knew and went right ahead with a very, very forthright way of fixing his English. It's interesting that he would turn to that, isn't it? Interesting thing, too, about Mark Twain, he had such an amazing command of writing that he could just let it flow and you would really understand just painting a picture of people and of experiences. Let's see what he says about Brown. Where was you born? Darn sight better stayed there. Here we have an example of dialect now, don't we? And it gives us a picture of Brown, what he's like. And then the moment I was in the presence, even in the darkest night, I could feel those yellow eyes upon me, and I knew their owner was watching for a pretext to spit out some venom on me. Okay, now he's describing what it's like what this Brown is like, giving us a little more insight, a little more interest of his character. I want you now to take some time to look through this autobiography extract that we've been reading, the Cub Pilot, and find examples of where Mark Twain reveals to us the characters of Brown, of his friend George, of his brother, and of himself.